Hi guys! This video is probably going to get interrupted because I'm home alone with both the boys right now, and my sister's on her way with her friend to eat dinner. But I wanted to go ahead and share my birth stories with you guys. That seemed like a good place to start my first video that hopefully won't get cut off this time. I should have thought this through better. I need to find a good place to park myself. Let me get myself together here. Sorry, guys. We're actually going to stay in here. Okay, so I will start with my Kason Wayne. He was born February 23rd, 2015. At about 5:45 p.m. He was a C-section.
Mimi.
Here he comes.
I see you.
Yeah, that's you. Say hi.
Hi.
So my pregnancy with Kason was pretty uneventful. I was really sick in the beginning. Couldn't get out of bed a lot, and actually got kind of overwhelmed with the first trimester, but by second trimester it was like a breath of fresh air, and it was just a lot easier to handle, and the rest of my pregnancy went by just fine. So I kind of thought that it was like too good to be true, that I wouldn't get... Hey baby, I'm doing a video, okay? Yes, I know. I put that there yesterday. He wants to show you the shelf that actually Corey helped me with. So, oh gosh, where was I? Yeah, I had told my doctor that I planned for a natural birth. My husband and I did birth classes at the hospital that we were going to be delivering at. I had actually told Jason that I wanted a home birth because that just made so much sense to me. It didn't make sense that during you know, labor, which to me is like really intimate and hard, it didn't make sense that I would just stop in the middle of that and get in my car and go to a unfamiliar location. Goodness. Being the hospital, and then try to deliver my baby. So I wanted a home birth, but with me being a first-time mom, my mom had 3 C-sections. I was her first. She was in labor for 3 days with me, and they told her that her pelvis was too narrow, that her hips would not open to allow natural childbirth. So she had a cesarean and then had 2 more for my sisters. So as a first-time mom, I wasn't super educated about childbirth, interventions, things like that. I had yet to see The Business of Being Born, which is a great resource that I think everybody should see at least once. So, you know, I kind of trusted my doctor. I mean, not fully. I did research, you know, some things, and there's so much I'd do differently if I could, but, so when I told my doctor that I wanted a natural birth, that was my birth plan, she was like, you'll change your mind. You know, people say that all the time. Everybody gets an epidural, and, you know, I wish that wasn't her attitude, because that set me up to really not have any support from her for my birth. You know, no regard for my birth plan. So, fast forward, 38-week appointment. I was only 37 and some change. Guys, I am so sorry about the quality of this video. I need to get like a little, like something I can set my phone on and record me. But, so at my appointment, I didn't know that there was any reason that I should decline cervical checks. You know, I was kind of... eager to find out if my body was changing yet, you know, if I was getting closer, which obviously I was. I was almost 38 weeks. No one's ever been pregnant forever, so cervical checks are really unnecessary and unsafe. But I didn't know that. So when she was doing my cervical exam, I remember it hurting. I was kind of like pushing against her. I was like, ow, ow. And she had done a membrane sweep. She didn't ask me beforehand. She didn't tell me that she did that. I didn't even know what that was. This is the conclusion that I came to after years of, you know, re-examining what happened over and over and over. So after that appointment, I started having some bloody show that night, and I lost my mucus plug. No, baby. I'll be finished in a minute, okay? We'll do it later. Or go ask Papa. Papa will help you. Thank God for Papa. So, yeah, that was on a Friday, I believe. By Sunday, Sunday, Jason and I went to Walmart, walked around, got some last-minute shopping done. We were nesting hardcore, getting ready for Kason to make his arrival. And at our birthing classes, the leader of that, who was an RN at the hospital, she was so awesome. She was so supportive. She was like, you can totally do it, you know. This is how you'll be successful. You want to labor at home as long as possible. Unless your water breaks, is what I was told. So, she said, if your water breaks, you have an increased risk of infection. You need to get to the hospital within an hour of your water breaking. And once again, me being a first-time mom, this isn't something that I researched on my own. I took her word for it because she was so supportive and helpful with every other aspect. So, Sunday night, we go to bed, fresh covers, I just washed the bed, everything. 4 a.m., I jump out of bed because I had this weird pop and gush down my legs, and I thought, like, maybe I peed myself, which I had never peed myself, so I was like, this is weird, so I'm trying to figure out what's going on, and my water had broke, long story short. So I call the hospital. They say, yeah, come on in, hurry up. We stop at the gas station, get me some water bottles because I didn't want an IV. I was going to be drinking my own water, you know, up moving around was the plan, everything like that. So we get to triage about an hour after my water breaks, and they verified that and then moved me to labor and delivery. And this was all probably about shortly before 6 a.m. So, they're immediately, as soon as they get me into the room, they're wanting to start an IV. I told them, I refused, I declined. I did allow them to do a hep lock on me. They blew a vein out in my hand, so that was the start of my experience with them, which was not fun. Finally got a hep lock placed. And then they wanted me on constant fetal monitoring just because my water had broke, so that restricted my movement. I told them, you know, that I wanted to leave the room, that I wanted to go try to, like, walk some stairs, do something to get labor going, because at this point, my contractions were still, like, 5 or 6 minutes apart, and they weren't hurting. He's wanting to eat me. Teething. So I was wanting to do something to speed that up, and they told me no. They told me I couldn't leave the room. I was not allowed to leave the room because my water had broke, and I needed to stay on the monitors. So that was really disappointing. I mean, this was all already not what I had planned for my birth plan. I wanted to labor at home. I was so uncomfortable. I was so scared. You know, the contractions hurt. And my friend Jamie came with me when I was in labor, and Jay, my husband, was there. By 8 a.m., the nurses come in with Pitocin, and we're just going to start this Pitocin without asking me, explaining risks, benefits, why they wanted to do it, anything. And I adamantly told them no. I did not want Pitocin. I did not want to be induced. I was in labor. My water broke naturally, and I wanted a natural labor. The nurse got huffy and left the room. She went and got another nurse, who I also declined a little bit more adamantly. And so she left angry as well. About an hour later, I'm still, like, I had made it to, I think, 3 centimeters. And my contractions were still, like, 4 to 5 minutes apart. And mind you, this is 4 hours after my water broke, but they're scaring me at this point. My doctor tells me that at 24 hours after my water breaks, that she will be cutting me open, that I will be having a C-section, and don't I want this baby to come out and, you know, all this stuff. And so in tears, I finally agree to let them start a low dose of Pitocin. And I looked at my husband and I told him, I said, this is the first intervention that's going to lead to a cesarean. And I cried, and I could see the fear in his face. And, you know, that's the moment that I flushed my birth plans down the toilet. So, I mean, you know, when you're in that moment and they tell you, like, your birth plans don't matter. How your baby is born doesn't matter. What matters is that your baby is safe. And, it is. But, you know, birth matters too. And I wish I had somebody that stood up for me and that cared what I wanted. Because not even 8 hours later, after they started Pitocin, I hadn't progressed at all. Surprise. You know, I was now dealing with these super painful contractions, like a minute apart. For you know, that long period of time. So, I wasn't progressing. I was scared. I was in pain. I was angry that I was not being respected or taken seriously, that I did not have support. So finally the doctor came in, and my external monitors were working fine. For whatever reason, she decides that they're going to do internal monitors on me. Sorry, let me readjust myself here. Come here, baby. Okay, sorry. So, these internal monitors. While she was doing a check on me, she had another nurse lay on my chest and hold me down while she pried my legs open while I was having a contraction and shoved these monitors in me and made jokes about how hard it was to get them past his head while I screamed in pain while she shoved this monitor in me and screwed another one into my son's head. And when that was all said and done, they weren't working. So she wanted to go get another set, and I said, no, that's enough. You know, I'm not progressing. You've said it yourself. You've said the word cesarean to me about 100 times since I've walked in this door. You're obviously not on board with my natural birth. You don't, you know, you have no respect or care for me. Go get the anesthesiologist and get me an epidural. And my mom tried to, you know, tell me, oh, what about your natural birth? You know, you've come this far, everything. And I was done. I was defeated. I was in so much pain. I was so scared. I was so upset. And, you know, in the midst of all that, I still wanted to meet my baby boy. So, got the epidural. They stopped the Pitocin while they went to get the anesthesiologist. And, when I got the epidural, my contractions completely stopped. My labor completely stopped. And I believe that was because of the fear and upset that I was going through. That, you know, a mother animal in the wild giving birth, when faced with a predator, will stop her labor to protect her baby. And that's totally what I feel happened to me. So after the epidural, when they finally turned the Pitocin back on, now I'm restricted to a bed, because previously this whole time I had been up walking the 5 feet I was allowed to move by the bed, using the birth ball, doing squats, you know, everything I could to try to progress. And when they turned the Pitocin back on after the epidural, Kason's heart rate started dropping. And at one point, my mom had been telling me to rest. I had just finally started to fall asleep about an hour after the epidural. And they come rushing in, elevating my feet, putting an oxygen mask on me. I mean, it was really scary. And they're telling me that, you know, he wasn't tolerating the Pitocin. How much further do I want to push him? You know, like, I was the one hurting my baby. Like, you know, this was all my fault. And they wanted to do a cesarean. So that's what happened. And, you know, as far as major abdominal surgeries go, it was great. I didn't really have any complications from it, other than the fact that I didn't get to meet my baby for 2 hours. So that prolonged breastfeeding, and we had so many issues with breastfeeding. That's probably another topic. I'll touch on it another time. Yeah, that's Kason's birth story. That is how I met my first son, and that changed my life forever. When I saw his head, it was so coned because he had been in my pelvic bones trying to come down for, like, you know, probably a couple days before my water actually broke. So I looked at him and I asked the doctor and the nurses, and I said, like, holy cow, his head's really big. Is that why I didn't progress? Is that why I didn't have a natural birth? You know, because his head's so big. And I was told, no, the reason, is that your hips cannot separate, just like your mom. You cannot have a vaginal birth. And that's it. That's it. So, I'm going to end this video. It's really long, and my sister's here. So I'm going to go get her situated, and then I will actually tonight go ahead and do Gio's birth story on another video here in a minute. So thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free. Oh my gosh, his birth was so traumatic. And, you know, I thought about that for the first couple weeks. I cried. And then when I finally thought about, you know, how traumatic it had to be for Kason as well, you know, like, he was just chilling in there trying to, like, you know, giving me subtle hints like, hey, I'm breaking your water. Here's your mucus plug. I'm ready to come out, you know, and I didn't get to allow my body to work with him to bring him into this world peacefully. And, you know, he didn't get to have skin to skin with me right away. He didn't get to have that bonding. He didn't get to eat. Everybody made jokes about him down in the nursery, eating his hands. They're like, oh, he's so cute. He's down there eating his hands. And I'm like, no, he's hungry. Please bring him to me. You know, where's my baby? When they finally got me to the recovery room. So it was horrible. I hope and pray I never have to have another hospital birth. And I also hope to be a midwife one day so that I can attend a lot of births and help bring babies earthside peacefully. No woman deserves to go through what I went through and to be so blatantly, you know, disregarded. Like, my feelings were just so placed to the wayside in the matter. And, you know, ultimately, he's healthy. I'm healthy. We're blessed. I'm thankful, but I'm not. You know, that's something I have to live with. And, you know, my doctor probably goes to sleep every night. Dr. Puckett probably doesn't, you know, ever think twice about her part in my trauma from my birth. But, you know, I kind of hope maybe one day she'll see this. And, you know, I always wanted to kind of, like, write her a letter. Because when I got my birth records and read through it, you know, it wasn't an emergency cesarean. It was almost like an elective C-section. Like, the mom is tired of laboring and wanted a C-section. And that was never my intention or my plan. I wanted a natural birth, and I was told by her that, oh, you'll change your mind. So, thanks for the support. So I'll do that other video here in a little while. Again, thank you guys for watching, and I'll be back soon.